All right, so we are getting right into this. I am excited to be here today. We're going to be talking about the Las Vegas, Nevada market, and let's jump right in. So, Jeff, hi.
Hi, thanks for having me. So I wanted to just get right into it. So the thing that I love about Las Vegas so much is I think it's two different types of cities. I think it's a big city and it's a small city. We only have a couple million people live here, but we're an international city. So we've got the Strip, which everyone knows about, entertainment, dining, everything you want down there. But we also have a lot of stuff outside of the Strip. There's a lot of parks. It's very family-oriented communities, which a lot of people don't know about. And we have multiple national parks away from us. Within 2 hours, I think there's something like 10 national parks. So there's so much to do here. And it's still such a very small city. So you can go the entire width of the valley, north, south, east, west, in about 45 minutes. So it's a small city, but it's still a big city too. And it's very unique in that regard.
So I'd love to hear why people are moving to Vegas, right? I
Yeah.
I know I just came back from Vegas. I experienced Vegas in the typical way that you do. I didn't get to explore beyond the Strip. I know a
Yeah.
little bit about it, but I'd love to hear why are people moving there and what are they finding and what are they surprised by when they get there?
Well, I think the first thing that surprises people is I've had about half of my business is relocation, especially over the last couple of years as we've seen these lifestyle changes and things. And, most of it is coming from California. I think the thing that surprises people so much is they have this kind of idea of what Vegas is. And when they come here, they realize it's just, I have a lot of clients that moved here that used to live in the Midwest. They say it's very similar to that. We have a lot of different pockets of communities. So obviously the main reason people are moving here is cost of living. The cost of our housing has taken off like every major city in the US over the last couple of years, but we have no state income tax. We're very pro-business in the regard that we have very minimal taxes, very minimal regulations. The state right now is getting very aggressive of attracting businesses. So I would say first and foremost is cost of living. But I think the thing that makes our market so unique, especially from someone like from your market, central Northern California, is we're still very close to California. So I have a lot of clients that move here that work remote, but don't really work remote. So they may need to go to they work for maybe a tech company. I have a client that worked for Sun Microsystems. They need to be in the office a week every quarter. So they can drive there,
So
they can
easy.
fly there. You flew here to Vegas, it's a 45-minute flight. It's very easy. So that's what I think makes us so unique compared to some other states like Texas, is that if you're moving here from California and you have family there, it's still very close. But yeah, cost of living is the number one thing. And then I think once we get people into this market and they see what's available from a community standpoint, amenity standpoint, obviously, if you love being outdoors, there's tons of stuff there for that. They come from saving money and wanting a lower cost of living, but then they really enjoy living here. So it's been a fun experience helping those people move here.
I love that. And
Yeah.
I don't want to get super specific on prices
Yeah.
because I want this to serve, of course, if someone's looking in 2 months, things might have changed. But
Yeah.
generally speaking, what's the range? How does it compare to California? When you mentioned a lot of people from California are moving there, I know a lot of my clients have moved there.
Yeah.
So are they elated by the price difference? I mean, what can someone get for an average price point?
So one of the low key things that I love about this market is that, like, I grew up in Southern California. Where I lived in Southern California was a nice area. I have family that still lives there, but you either have an apartment or you have a single family home. There's nothing in between. The nice thing about this market is we've got condos, we've got high rise condos, we have townhouses, we have single family homes. So it's not always about the price. If you're looking at a condo, you're anywhere from 200 to 250,000. If you're a townhouse, add another 50 to 100 to that. And then if you want a single family home, another 50 to 100 on top of that. And then high rise condos is a separate thing. So the thing I like is it's not always about the money. A lot of times I have clients move here that are like, we love how affordable a house, we can buy a house for, $400,000, but we don't want the maintenance. We don't want any of that. We want to start traveling. So that's where the condo or the high rise condo comes into it. So I would say 200, 300, 400 for condo, townhouse, single family home. And
Essentially a down payment in California. Is that what you're saying?
well, that's the truth. And when you have you just look at money different ways. I have clients that are like, I can put a down payment on an investment property, or I can buy something outright.
Yeah.
So it's just a different perspective. And, there's obviously, as you know, a number of areas in California that are very affordable, but in terms of this city being everything available within half hour to 45 minutes, you don't really have to commute that much. We have an amazing international airport. It's still something where it's like, I don't have to live out in the middle of nowhere to afford something. And then I have to commute, an hour to 2 hours, which is something that I experienced with a lot of people I knew when I lived in California. So it's a great market just because of the variety. All those different types of properties. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you touched on this a little bit, but what are people doing for what they do for a living, right?
Yeah.
What are the career paths? Where are people working when they are moving there? Or is it primarily remote workers that are in different locations?
Well, the interesting thing is, the last couple of years have been very difficult, but there's been a lot of positives in the last couple of years. And one of the big positives we saw was, even before that, we've really become more of a diversified economy. Everyone knows us for hospitality. We were a majority hospitality economy for really forever, but we've really started attracting major businesses. Remote work's obviously a very big thing. There's a lot of people that work here that work remotely. I have a bunch of clients that are actually attorneys that don't need an office. They've had clients for 25 years and they work with them every quarter on their business. So remote work is obviously more of the affordability side of things. But yeah, there's major businesses. The construction industry is booming here, obviously because of the strip and, the lack of housing, like in your market and like most of the US. But healthcare has really taken off the last couple of years. There's a couple major projects that are under construction right now. So it's good to see. It's something that at a state level, but more as a county level, because the majority of the population of Nevada lives in this southern part of the state. They've really been aggressive of attracting businesses. And it's not even, hey, we want you to move your business here. It's, hey, why don't you open a business here? Google is starting a big data center here. So there's a lot of big companies that say, this is very attractive because it's close to California. We need resources there because of how it's growing. And another big thing is that we're very close to the Port of Long Beach, which is one of the biggest ports in the world. So a lot of that manufacturing can do it here. So the last 10 years, specifically the last 5, we've really become a considerably more diversified economy in terms of, the jobs and the businesses that are here.
That's incredible. And I mean, the
Yeah.
accessibility is a huge one. And in addition, you have the land to still build on, right? That's what
Yeah.
we are lacking severely in California. I mean, we don't even see a lot of brand new construction anymore unless it's high density. So there's
Yeah.
really no space to build any manufacturing space, anything beyond housing. So that's really interesting and it makes so much sense. And it's going to draw, and I believe continue to draw, correct me if I'm wrong, people to your area, because the more businesses that are coming out there, the more people are like, get me out of here, right? I
Yeah.
can see more benefits in being in Nevada, specifically Las Vegas areas, than anywhere else.
Well, it's kind of like that snowball effect. You have one big business that moves here. The example that I use, I'm a big sports fan, but sports is a business. And we had originally we had Bill Foley, who's the owner of the Golden Knights here. He says, I want to bring a hockey team to Las Vegas. It wasn't because he liked Las Vegas. He did like Las Vegas. It's because he saw the opportunity as someone who's very successful in growing multiple different types of businesses. He said, I think that this is a growing market that this business would thrive in. Well, we get that. Then we get T-Mobile Arena, which they play in. Then we get all these other things. Then we get the Raiders move here from California. And the reason that I tell people is so important is, yeah, if you're a sports fan, it's cool. But that's them going all in on this market, saying we believe in the health of this market from a business standpoint. And, the results so far have been incredible. The Vegas Golden Knights and Raiders have some of the highest average ticket prices. They have some of the best TV ratings. And it's just because of this market is a nice balance of people living here as a vacation home, but then people also moving here from out of state. So that's why I tell people, there's that old rule in real estate, look for where McDonald's and Starbucks is building stuff, because that's kind of where the growth is happening. And that's really what we're seeing here. Is I tell people it's cool, we've got a sports team, but that's that's down on the list. The main thing is that tells us how strong this market is and how much growth is happening because they moved here.
Absolutely. And as an investor looking for investment opportunities, I think that that presents itself as well, right? So
Yeah.
that's what you should be looking for if you're looking for the biggest growth impact that you possibly can, finding properties in an area that isn't as expensive and maybe not, I'll talk to you about this in a second, as competitive. You have
Yeah.
more opportunity in places like that, and it's only going to grow. So
Absolutely.
leading into that, how is the market as far as the competition goes? I mean, are you, because you're getting people from California, we see this all the time in different states, right? The migration patterns create the
Yeah.
competition. So what are you seeing right now with that?
Well, there's a couple of things to break down there. The first thing is our market has definitely cooled off quite a bit from the beginning of this year, excuse me. But I tell people we were like, as in your market, we were going down the road at 200 miles an hour. We're going 100 miles an hour now. So it's still hot. It's just getting back to where we were like 2018 to 2019. In terms of people cash versus financed, we're anywhere from about 10 to 30% cash. The thing about the cash buyers, especially the cash buyers from California, is especially in our industry as agents, there's so many people like, oh, it's difficult to compete with these cash buyers, investors, all these things. In my experience, the majority of the cash buyers here are people that lived in like San Jose for 25 years. They raised their family in their house. Their family has gotten jobs. They've moved across the US and they say, we want to move somewhere where we have, lower cost of living, lower maintenance, maybe buying a condo. So the majority of the cash buyers, in my experience, are people that are coming from a 20 to 30-year equity position. So that's the thing I tell people is that the cash buyers, which kind of seem like the boogeyman in our industry, especially for first-time home buyers, I'm like, no, these are actually people like you're a first-time home buyer at the beginning. These are people at the very end. They're buying their final house. They're like, this is the house I want to live in for the next 15 to 20 years. So the market here is definitely, it's evolving. I know the buzzword's shifting and, they say the market's dropping. I think that with how hot things were the last couple of years, it's a pendulum and it's coming back to kind of a more sustainable market. So,
Yeah,
but we're
normalized. Yeah.
experiencing this everywhere, instead of getting 40 offers, we're getting 3 offers, that's a normal, strong, healthy market.
Yeah. And it's still appreciating. It's just not at the same rate that it was in the chaotic 2021
Yeah,
times. So yeah,
exactly.
I think that's great. And I definitely think that it will continue its popularity because of the affordability and the lifestyle there that can be offered, right?
Well, I
So
think
go
when
ahead.
people get into the market, they see it. And it'd be like if I'm aware of San Jose, but it's like if I was there with you right now and you start touring different areas and stuff, it's really going to open your mind. So I think that once people get into it and they really see what's available, they're like, oh, but that's the case for every major city in the US.
Yeah.
People have kind of an idea of what it is. And then once they get into it, they're like, wow, it's a lot different than I thought. It's a lot better than I thought. And that's kind of the way that I would describe this market for people that are moving here from out of state.
And are you seeing more? I know you mentioned people cashing out on their equity, but are
Mhm.
you also seeing an influx of investors that are coming in? I mean, I'm talking investors that are just buying 1 or 2 properties. We're not talking big time corporate investing, but are a lot of people doing that to just capitalize on the rental market that's existing and increasing right now?
Yes, so we're definitely seeing that. The majority of investors that I deal with, and the majority of investors that I've seen through our prospecting and farming and all these different things, own only one property here. So a lot of times they would buy something here. And an interesting thing about the investors, there's a lot of investors here that moved out of state that plan to be back. As a side note to that, one thing that I've told a lot of people, especially in the last couple of years, I'm like, if you're planning to move here in the next 5 to 10 years, you need to buy something now. Even if you break even on it, it's going to protect you from all that appreciation. So paying more,
Mhm.
and you're going to get tax benefits and all these things. So a lot of the investors that I've seen are people that are planning to move here that, don't want to pay, 50 to 100% more when they get here. They want to get that 50 to 100%, and they can get the tax benefits and, any cash flow and principal pay down and all those things. So that's mainly the type of investor I see here.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's definitely opportunity. I think it's going to increase over the next few years, especially. Okay.
Well, I think we're, as a quick side note, I think we're in a valley right now. And I tell people we still have a major shortage of houses. Interest rates are going to come back down. I'm like, if you can take advantage of this window, this 6 to 12 months, however long it lasts, we can't predict. When you're in these markets like San Jose is always going to be a hot market just because it's the hub of the tech industry. If you look at Las Vegas, one of these high growth markets, if you get into it now, 5 to 10 years from now, you're going to really look back and say, I'm glad that I bought then, instead of waiting where it's always going to be going up, but you're going to get much more of that benefit. So I agree with you on that.
Absolutely. Let's talk about new construction a little bit. So I know we spoke of it in the corporate aspect, but what are you seeing for new construction? There is land there. So are you seeing a large amount of new construction popping up right now?
So there's a perception that there is a lot of new construction. There's just not nearly enough for the market to handle it. So when you drive down any major street here, you'll see new construction, but they're building 50 houses here, 100 houses here. The ironic thing here, we live in the middle of the desert, but there's not a lot of there's not a lot of land to be developed because the state owns so much of this. It's something that's really become a hot button issue where they're like, we need to start releasing more land to developers to start building. But yeah, there are new home construction communities. Again, going back to what we talked about before, we're in a spot right now where new home starts and new home permits are down quite a bit across the US, specifically here, because we were kind of like the hub for all the craziness before the previous crash, 2008. So now we're like the complete opposite. We're like the last to respond and the first to respond when things start shifting. So in terms of that, I think it's a great option for a lot of buyers just because you can get in on the ground level of a lot of these communities. I have clients that bought their new house 10, 15 years ago that have seen the entire community develop. They've seen the parks be built out. They've seen, the walking paths, all these things. So yeah, new construction, it's about 10 to 20% of the market, depending on the month. So it's a very small market, but there's that option, especially in the custom home side of things.
Okay. And you don't have a growth cap of any kind, right? It's really limited by the land use more than anything else.
It's land use. I'd say that really the only growth cap that we have is in certain communities. Like, for example, there's one community that I do a lot of work in, Mountain's Edge. It's in the Southwest, where there was a certain quota of homes to be built in that area, that community of Mountain's Edge. They're almost there. So that's the only type of growth cap. But in terms of restrictions of certain things can't be built or not, no, I don't see any of that. It's just like you said, it's just a shortage of land.
Okay.
When they buy these lots, they're putting houses on it immediately. It's very impressive. Yeah. So they're quick with it.
We see 12-month build time a lot of times, and it hasn't gotten better.
Well, it's just getting worse, and I don't think that's going to get any better, especially now with, all these factors at play right now. It seems like we were hoping the best of it would be gone, but as the cost of money goes up and things like that, and that's why I tell people it's an issue right now, but it's going to be a benefit if you buy now, because then it's going to create a major shortage down the road. These millennials are a huge home, and I'm a millennial, are a huge home buying segment.
These millennials.
They're not going away. So if you can act now and project out in the next 3, 5, 7 years, we're going to be kind of back to where we were in a couple of years ago. It's a good opportunity if you're in it for the long haul.
Capitalize on that big time now.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let's talk about fun stuff. This is all fun, at least to me.
Well, I love real estate. And I know you do too. So it's fun.
I know we could go on for hours, but for the sake of anyone watching, we'll hone in here. But I know when I saw you over this last weekend in Las Vegas, you had talked about, you just read everything off like a map, right? You're like, and the country club is over here and it's amazing and all of this stuff. And I love that. And I love your knowledge of the area. So let's talk about some fun things. If I was considering moving to your area and I had never been there before, what are some of the really cool things that you guys have? I know you mentioned the outdoor lifestyle, but what could I do in a weekend that would give me a really, really good idea of the area?
Well, there's so much here in such a short amount of distance. So if we look just from a geography standpoint, we're in a valley. There's mountains nearly completely around us. So the reason I like that is if you're from the Strip to Red Rock Canyon, it's 20 minutes. So you can hike there. You can mountain bike. There's all kinds of outdoor things. We have Lake Mead, which is toward the Arizona side. So you could, if you wanted to, you could be water skiing in Lake Mead in the morning and snowboarding at Mount Charleston in the afternoon. So I like being outdoors, especially as realtors. We're indoors all day in an office. So it's nice to get out and do that. But yeah, the mountain biking, hiking, there's a lot of nice walking paths too. So that's a thing. If you're someone, especially my older clients and people I know that are moving here, they want to live an active lifestyle, but they don't want to do hiking or mountain biking. So there's a ton of walking paths. But then from an entertainment standpoint, I mean, like we got the Strip, we've got off Strip, we've got obviously the professional sports teams. We have minor league sports teams. So there's on Strip and off Strip. So food, shopping, entertainment, we've got everything. But my favorite thing about living here is the outdoor recreational activities, just because we've got this valley within half an hour, you got everything. Then you got Death Valley, you've got the Grand Canyon, you got Utah, you're a couple hour flight to Colorado. So we're kind of like a central hub of the Southwest of all these great outdoor activities.
And that's incredible. And I love all of that. I'm such an outdoor person. That's always a bonus. And what about, so the obvious is it's hot, right?
Yeah.
I mean, especially in the summertime, you're seeing really high temperatures. So what is there to do if someone doesn't have the tolerance? I'm not going mountain biking when it's 105 degrees outside, right? So what are some of the other ideas to do when the temperatures are a little more desert-like?
Well, I'll just say I love the summer and I do mountain bike. I joke with people pay for a sauna. You can get one for free here. So that's my mindset. It's a very good workout. I would say in terms of doing things, being outdoors in the summer is very manageable. So I have so I just look at it through the perspective of people I know. They work all day, they get home, in the evening, once the sun goes down, it's very cool. So it's not very cool, but not being in the sun makes a huge difference. So enjoying things in the evening or enjoying things, I know, like you, people who get up very early risers, it's manageable then too. If not in the summer, I mean, we got Lake Mead, it's a lake. We've got Mount Charleston. It gets cool up there. So if you want to do like a weekend trip to kind of beat the heat, that's, those are a couple of the places people go to. Yeah, that would be it. But I think you're never going to get away from the heat. So
yeah, that's true. I mean, you are still in the desert. It's
yeah. So it's one of those things early in the morning, later in the evening, especially toward light dinner, that's where you see during the summer, our parks are booming here. Like I'll have showings where we wrap up at like 6:30 and you drive past the park and it's great to see people are out walking, people are enjoying things. So, it's definitely manageable if you do things early or later in the day.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for painting that picture. I think you did an amazing job giving me and anyone watching just a general idea of the lifestyle and then the type of homes that you're actually going to see and what the market kind of looks like right now. So I really appreciate that. Any final words about Las Vegas that you'd like to share while we wrap this up?
I would just say, wrapping up, the thing that I do like about it is that we're a very small city. We only have a couple million people live here, but we're a truly international city. I just saw an article the other day that said we're like the second best food city in the world, which was kind of crazy. But I just think it speaks to the majority of people that live here were not born here. So we have all these different cultures, from the US or from, outside of the US that move here. So it's a really fun city. Even if you don't go to the Strip, there's outdoor activities. There's all kinds of shops and restaurants and whatever you name it that's here, because we're truly a cosmopolitan city. It's really nice.
I love it. Thank you so much, Jeff. And
You're
for anyone
welcome.
watching,
Good to see
I really appreciate, you too. And for anybody watching, I appreciate your time. If you are interested in relocating, all of Jeff's info is going to be in the description below. Definitely subscribe if you want to see more information about relocation and what that can serve. So thank you for your time, Jeff, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.